Did you know? Let's go.
You've waited all week.
Every week, we continue to learn how to achieve a better back and ultimately better health.
Live in the WIKB studios, this is Dr. Larry.
Well, thank you for hitting the flex capacitor read. Hello again, everybody. Okay, let's get it started. Well, as you know, every show builds on the next. Every week, we continue to learn how to achieve a better back and ultimately better health. Now, in case any of you missed it, last week we talked to a rheumatologist. It was an important week to be tuned in because we learned and defined about what a rheumatologist is and can do for you, because let's face it, you may need them when your joints are feeling blue. So here it is again. Arthritis. A long time ago, arthritis got its name and claim to fame. And now we know arthritis is as famous as Johnny Unitas used to be, but as wanted or as needed as getting stung by a bumblebee. Because we've all heard somebody say, "Oh, I hurt with arthritis." In addition, commonly in healthcare, there's a lot of chit-chat about Arthur, what causes it, why it gives us such a fit, and the ultimate question is, when will it ever quit? Because it causes big problems in the function of our hips, knees, spines, and more. It's a type of condition that if you're in your later years, it can make you shout and let it all out. And maybe that's what Tears for Fears was singing about, because arthritis, we can definitely do without. So come on, all you arthritis sufferers, I'm talking to you. Come on. It's the best I got, Tear for Fears. So if you have arthritis, then pay close attention to our previous guest's recap. She's a practicing physician and board certified in a field that deals with this. It was a two-part show that I hope you did not miss because I brought you the specialist, an interview with the rheumatologist. And here's a couple of things we accomplished through the two-part show. Her name was Dr. Manpreet Sethi, and she is board certified and was medically trained in India because she's from there. She said she has an awesome butter chicken recipe, and she said, I don't know if anyone knows what butter chicken is, but it's a lot of butter. One reason she likes her field is because she's able to follow patients and get to see them over an extended period of time. She also mentioned to me, too, she has the board cert of internal medicine with the focus on rheumatology. So she basically kind of plays both roles, but focuses on rheumatology. She has a couple interesting talents, but one of them, she reads her papers from top to bottom, not left to right. This allows her to see and retain information. She said she's been like that since she was a kid. And she, in medical school, would finish her medical exam hours ahead of people, and she couldn't quite figure out why, but it was just basically how she reads. So it's very efficient. And I asked her a question, so how does that then come to reading medical records? She goes, yeah, actually, I do the same thing, and I'm able to glean from the medical records a lot quicker on some of the information I need to know, is what she said. 3 to 4 common reasons why people see a rheumatologist. Inflammation was kind of the main one that I picked out of the joints, but inflammation of, she went over vasculitis, myositis. She also went over just muscle weakness without explanation. That was some of the other types of patients she sees as well, too. You don't need a referral to see her or a rheumatologist as far as part of the group goes, and that's OSMS. We compared and contrasted what a primary care physician does versus a rheumatologist, and she basically said they're quarterbacks between the two and are very involved. And so she'll get involved in cases, let's say an out-of-control gout case. So maybe the primary care doc is struggling trying to figure that out, and that's where she'll jump in. But of course, then with the autoimmune problems, the rheumatoid arthritis and psoriatic arthritis, she gets involved in those cases, definitely. And then we focused on infusion therapy and how it's used, when it was developed, and what the difference is between oral medication and what types of conditions it treats. So we went through some of those cases as well, too. And one of the common denominators, again, goes back to what they're trying to target with their infusion therapy is how to treat the effects of inflammation in the body. And it varies between case to case as far as what type of rheumatology condition the patient has. In addition, she tossed in a different style case where it did not involve infusion therapy, and this one caught my attention, and I'm sure it caught yours as well, too, if you heard the show. Hydroxychloroquine is used to treat early onset lupus, which, of course, as some of you probably know, is an autoimmune. That one took me off guard. I didn't know that you use that med again, too. And as some of you know, that was kind of one of those medications that was surfaced during the peak COVID time as well, too, where people were having some success with that. So you can Google that if you'd like. And finally, as you heard, she works for OSMS. There are other board-certified rheumatologists that work there, even though they're orthopedic sports medicine specialists. They have on-board rheumatologists as well, too. Here's some of the highlights of the reviews that I pulled offline, and having talked to her on air and off the air, too. One of the things that struck me about her was she's very sincere. And I was even talking to the director over at the clinic there, too, and they said, oh, yeah, that's just how she is. But here's what some patients have said about her as well. Dr. Sethi took the time to thoroughly examine my medical records and needs. She was very knowledgeable and provided options for me to consider. She was a great listener, answered all my questions. I'm happy with her. Another patient said, this was my first visit with Dr. Sethi. She was informative, listened well, all of my comments and concerns. She's very approachable, extremely perceptive, which I thought that was kind of interesting for a patient to pick up on. Great discussion. Her RN was also friendly demeanor and felt very relaxed from the very first visit. And another patient says, instantly in one visit, I'm already impressed. She's by far more compassionate and thorough and knowledgeable than other rheumatologists this patient had. She explained things completely and let me know what she was thinking. And she apologized for any pain I had during the examination. Another patient, the final one here that I gleaned, said she was professional and wasn't there to rush the appointment. I think that, as we all know, that can be an issue. Sometimes you feel rushed out the door when it comes to your primary care or specialist. They got one hand on the doorknob, and so she takes the time and slows things down. After her diagnosis, she laid out a plan to fix the problem and the root cause. I love that she isn't quick to prescribe medications. I know that's a lot on your minds as well, too. You'll take your medications if needed, but ultimately you don't want to be on a whole bunch of pills. And so that was another comment from a patient there. And I'll tell you, like I said, she seems pretty down to earth at our first encounter. So overall, great first impression. You can see her in Green Bay at OSMS. And you can look up their number. I didn't write it down this week in front of me, but take a look at them and find Dr. Manpreet Sethi. I've already referred a couple of patients there as well, too, just because, like I said, as far as rheumatologists go, they're few and far between and difficult to get into. And so sometimes it takes a few months, but they've got about 5 or 6 of them at OSMS. So that was some of the highlights and focus of our 1-hour show last week. However, if you missed the entire show and want to be more in the know, then log on to my website, drlarryradio.com. Hit the sponsor button, follow the links to become an official sponsor of the show today. That's been uploaded now, which you can listen to at your leisure. And here's the final point. If your joints are swelled and stiff, just remember Dr. Sethi won't get miffed. Now, beyond that, in addition to the pain game, last week we learned a simple self-test for deltoid tendinitis. And I brought that up because it often gets fooled or mistaken for a rotator cuff injury, and it's much easier to fix. It was another Dr. Larry cool tool. You can call my office for a freebie reminder just in case you're in need of a retip or a tip up. And so that was last week. Hi-ya. Now today, we will forget that monologue for a moment and keep remembering those mandatory communication skills all doctors must have, which are inquisitive listening and staying positive. Again, it often means the difference between sick and well. Also, it's another month of the year, so let's keep our knees in gear. So in our tip and trick segment today, we're going to learn a simple self-test for a Baker's cyst. What's that bubble in the back of your knee? We'll find out. And of course, you, Rito Dorito, are calling it out right from the broadcast booth while we crank up the tunes and I hit the center stage for the demo. However, before all that, in order to have good health, you don't need a lot of wealth. So let's flex our forebrain and put some knowledge to the game, because today we're going to talk about, hit it, Pearl.
Dr. Larry brings you another segment of Did You Know?
Vitamins. They are everywhere around you and me. But what effects do they have on our bodies? More importantly, How did I use a vitamin to help a patient overcome a problem and win? You'll want to stay tuned in to make sure you listen, because you won't be able to find this on Google, Facebook, or LinkedIn, only on this radio station. So here's how the story goes. A middle-aged lady checked herself into my office. She had been developing a chronic and worsening condition. She let me know that over the course of 18 months, her legs began to feel like heavy clumps, meaning she would sit at work and after a while her legs would have a quirk. They would not move well. They felt like they were going to sleep, but worse, the feeling would never go away. In fact, it would linger for hours upon hours, and she would take high doses of Excedrin to ease the problem, but would still never go away. In fact, it was getting worse. Now, for most of us, let's say if we sit too long, our legs go numb or fall asleep. We just get up and move around and shake it all out. But not in this lady's case. They kept getting worse to the point where she thought she would be crippled. She had some other medical issues, but nothing related directly to this problem. So when she came to my office, she was pleasant but somewhat emotional, out of fear for what was happening. Now, naturally, she thought it might be a pinched nerve in the back or a misaligned spine, but I ruled that out on a dime. So what was wrong with this lady's legs? Why in the world over 18 months was this problem getting worse without any direct cause or curse? Also, what specific vitamin did I recommend that completely changed the course and help us win? Stay tuned. You're listening to the Dr. Larry Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Dr. Larry will be back in a moment. Breaks over. Time to get cracking once again with Dr. Larry.
Welcome back. Vitamins, they are everywhere around you and me, but what effects do they have on our bodies? More importantly, how did I use a vitamin to help a patient overcome a problem and win? Stay tuned in and make sure you listen, because you won't be able to find this on Google, Facebook, or LinkedIn, only on this radio station. So here's how this story goes in case you're just tuning in. A middle-aged lady checked herself into my office, and she'd been developing a chronic and worsening condition. She let me know that over the course of 18 months, her legs began to feel like heavy clumps, meaning she would sit at work and after a while her legs would begin to have a quirk. They would not move well. They felt like they were going to sleep, but worse, the feeling would never go away. In fact, it would linger for hours upon hours, and she would take high doses of Excedrin to ease the problem, but again, it would stay. Now, for most of us, let's say if we sit too long and our legs go numb or fall asleep, we just get up and shake them out and move around and goes away. But not in this lady's case. It kept getting worse to the point where she thought she might even be crippled. She had some other medical issues, but nothing really related directly to this problem. So when she came to my office, she was pleasant, but of course emotional, out of fear for what was going on. Now, naturally, she thought it might be a pinched nerve in the back or a misaligned spine, but I ruled that out on a dime. So what was wrong with this lady's legs? Why in the world over 18 months was this problem getting worse without any direct cause or curse? Also, what specific vitamin did I recommend that completely changed the course and help us win? Well, let's begin. First of all, there were no clots, no varicose veins, or anything urgent medically. In addition, she had already been checked out by her doctor and previously had gastric bypass surgery and lost some substantial weight. So the big bad stuff was ruled out. But, as you heard me describe, her legs, for you and me, in the lower half of her body didn't work so well, and it was getting worse regardless. So she wanted an answer and a fix, which is why I had to totally start digging through the sticks and look under rocks. And this became as confusing as a mystery. It felt like a bit of an episode created by Alfred Hitchcock. So let me start first with what I identified as the problem. She seemed to have an issue with the flow and the circulation to her feet. Now, how do I know this? Well, in addition to history and other parts of the exam, when I went to press behind her knee, she began to feel a change and sensation in her legs and feet. So was it a nerve? Was it the veins? Was it the arteries? Was it the muscles? Was it the ligaments? Lots of choices, but again, there was one problem above all, and I had her take this vitamin, which was the right call. But before I get into which vitamin it was, and more importantly, why, let's get some perspective here for just a few minutes. I'm going to quote an article, 25 Fascinating Supplements and Industry Statistics. This is written by an author, Jack Flynn, in June 27th of 2023 on Zippia.com. Supplement industry research summary is becoming extremely popular for consumers, supplements are, given the rapid growth over the years with massive companies like GNC. Now, supplements take up a large portion of advertising space, and that's despite not being FDA regulated. If you want to learn more about the supplement industry and the best-selling supplements, consider these insights and highlights on the research. 77% of Americans take at least one supplement. The average American spends $96.50 per trip on vitamins and supplements. The U.S. vitamin and supplement manufacturing industry is worth, here we go, $35.6 billion as of 2022. More popular than ever, supplements are becoming a staple for many American households, and it's growing. The global dietary supplement market is worth $165 billion and some change as of last year. With a large portion of that profit coming from vitamins, the ingredient accounts for 30.8% of the revenue share. So overall, the industry has a high net profitability as well, too. Americans spend $30.2 billion on supplements every single year. That's $28.3 billion for adults, $1.9 billion for children, or 9.2% of overall out-of-pocket U.S. healthcare spending. Plus, these numbers are divided among only 59 million Americans, meaning the average American purchasing supplements is spending about $500 per year on them. The U.S. supplement industry has an average profit margin of 38%. While it's considerably less than the overall pharmaceutical profit margin of 76.5%, it still makes supplement suppliers and distributors quite a bit of money. For instance, the average supplement store still makes over about $100,000 a year. Nothing wrong with capitalism in that sense, but profit margins 38% and 76.5% for the pharmaceutical, respectively, just give you a perspective there. Now, pay attention to this data point. There are over 29,000 different dietary supplements available to U.S. consumers. And if that's not enough, there are approximately 1,000 new supplements added to the market every single year. So let me put a pause to help you out with the reason for this perspective. It's a this for that vitamin match game, meaning for an ailment, problem, or issue you may have, there are 29,000 choices for you and an additional 1,000 new choices every single year. And it's one of the most consistent topics that comes up in my office, vitamins and supplements. What you're taking, what should you take, or what can you take for fill-in-the-blank problem. Here's a few more stats. As the oldest living generation, the greatest generation spends by far the most on supplements. Continuing in order of age, baby boomers spend on average $111.59, followed by Gen X at $82.06, and millennials at $62.73 per time you go out to purchase supplements. Revenue from these is expected to reach $4.06 billion this year. The U.S. has the largest vitamin and mineral market behind only China, and the other top 5 countries are Japan, Brazil, and the UK. So here are the 15 most popular supplements in the U.S. in order of percent. Vitamin D, and that's 66% of all of the supplements. And I'm using interchangeably, by the way. Mineral, supplement, vitamin. They kind of are all lopped together in a category. Magnesium is second with 53.5% of all total sales. Fish oil CoQ10, multivitamin. Multivitamin is 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth on the list, so it's just barely in the top 5. Just out of the top 5 are probiotics. Turmeric is way up there. Vitamin C, B complex, B12, calcium, melatonin, zinc, vitamin K, and apple cider vinegar rounds out that top 15 most popular in the U.S. Now, if that wasn't enough, between 2017 and 2022, you'll know as soon as I say this one, CBD supplement sales have increased 422% from $367 million to $1.92 billion. That's in addition to all the other supplement categories I just gave you. Note this. 74% of Americans, though, are concerned that supplements are not backed by a trustworthy research. And also, I'm going to put emphasis mine on this one, are concerned that the supplements they're taking or vitamins taking aren't actually working. Meaning, I'm taking this, I don't know if it helps, but I'm going to continue to take this. Despite the fact that 40% of the supplement users say they do so to boost their immune systems, many still have doubts about their effectiveness. So these are interesting sort of comparisons here. Now, why would I divert you off the road here, go from the paved road and into a bumpy backwoods road here to give you this perspective? Well, first, before I give the vitamin supplement that actually helped improve and correct this lady's leg problem when nothing else would, why wouldn't I just give you the answer? Well, I'm going to speak in a parable or an analogy for a second, but it's going to make a point. And I want to use some language from a mechanic a while back. I had a bad experience with a mechanic a while back. I brought an older vehicle in, took a brief look at it, said I needed an O2 sensor. So he replaced it, put it in for around $200 back then. It worked, then it stopped working. I went back in, he did it again. So now I'm out $400 on a sensor problem, an O2 sensor. So after the 2 rounds of that, I took it to a different mechanic. Different experience. He put my car up on the hoist. He walked me over to the car, pointed to one section of the exhaust and said he needed to cut out this one part, replace it, not the whole thing, just the one part, and the total cost was $300. It fixed the chronic O2 sensor problem and the exhaust problem. It was done. So when I spoke to the mechanic about this, he said to this quote, and I'll never forget it, yeah, sometimes mechanics just keep throwing parts at problems, which never makes them go away or help. And that stuck with me, and it made sense in one aspect of what I do, which is healthcare and supplements. Sometimes we just keep throwing supplements at a problem. We have a symptom, and we find a supplement, and we take it. And you can hear by the staggering amounts of dollars spent and the number of supplements, and now with the addition of CBD, it's the same kind of mechanic story with the case, which I'm about ready to finish up here in just a minute. But in this case, and as it goes for all supplements, the point is to try to zero in and drill down which vitamin or which supplement will actually give you the most effective use in your body. And that's exactly what happened in this case. And it was proven and with the follow-up. So when it came to this lady and why her legs kept falling asleep and affecting how she walked, and which one I chose for her out of all the vast 29,000 and growing supplement slash vitamin slash mineral market stuff plus CBD that's out there, if you had all that in, I had a 1 in 30,000 chance, I guess, if you want to say it that way. But I'll tell you why I was able to drill it down relatively quickly, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up, not necessarily going, oh, I've got this leg problem, so therefore I should take this supplement that Dr. Larry is going to recommend. It's the thought process and how you've got to be tuned in, or the did you know aspect of this that will help you with your supplement taking. But of course, I want to give you the answer as well too, because for some of you it's going to help. So stay tuned. This is coming up right around the corner. Turn off the washer and dryer, crank up the radio, hold off in your car. If you're about ready to go grocery shopping, sit tight. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with Dr. Larry. We're back with Dr. Larry.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, I'm about ready to wrap up this case for the day. A lady with chronic 18-month lower leg problems. She hurt, she ached, but they would fall asleep and just not feel like they were working right. And it began to affect how she walked. Now, before I give what this was and the cause and condition and the treatment, let's go over the very simplified definition of a vitamin. So a vitamin is any group of organic compounds which are essential for normal growth and nutrition and are required in small quantities in the diet because they cannot be synthesized in the body. Quote, most people can get all the vitamins they need from a healthy diet. And that's from, I think, Merriam-Webster's dictionary, but one of the dictionaries out there. A vitamin supplement, by definition, is a pill containing a specified amount of a particular vitamin or vitamins taken as a dietary supplement and is a manufactured product intended to supplement one's diet by taking a pill, capsule, tablet, powder, or liquid. A supplement can provide nutrients either extracted from food sources or are synthetic in order to increase the quantity of their consumption. So the ultimate goal is to get everything you need out of your diet, period. It's the best way to do it. Even if we've got industrial farming nowadays, even if the soil's been leached and bleached, and yes, there are problems and issues that I think we're all familiar with that we're just not getting unless we've got all of our food from our backyard garden. But that's not reality. We head to the stores and we get our food and it's grown from someplace else. That said, if we can get it from our diet best way possible by having a few extra collard greens or some extra kale in your dish, then we should do that. Because the vegetables and the fruits have a nice vibrant color to them, even though they may have been leached and bleached. And of course, the backyard garden, as you know, the garden fresh stuff tastes the best and has the most vitamins or minerals and supplements in there. However, in certain cases, you may need a vitamin supplement. So in our patient case, I was able to rule out nerve issues, muscle issues, tendon issues, and joint issues, which left us with vascular, which could include artery and vein. Now, there were no clots, as I mentioned previously. However, the problem was with how her body was regulating how wide or how narrow her blood vessels were. This is called, the process of that, vasodilation or vasoconstriction. It's supposed to be on autopilot, similar to how your pupils will automatically let more or less light in by getting smaller or bigger. So in her case, that's what was going on with the vessels in her legs. After sitting, they would stay constricted too long, not open up, and she would be stuck with legs asleep for hours and hours, and by the end of the day, she could barely walk. She was supplementing with massive doses of Excedrin, which she found worked for a bit, but not great. It helped reduce some inflammation. But what was the vitamin that fixed this, and what was the one I recommended? It was niacin, or B3. Now, niacin effectively dilates the vessels and helps supplement the natural process that I was talking about. She had had gastric bypass surgery, and my assumption when I was talking to her was this left her depleted in niacin, or B3, and her condition was what it was. Now, let's review some fun facts on niacin. I'm going to pull from a couple different sources here. First will be, let's go to Mayo Clinic. Niacin is a B vitamin that's made and used by your body to turn food into energy. So this is kind of generally what it does. It helps keep your nervous system and your digestive system and skin healthy. Niacin is often part of a daily can be a multivitamin. So in the stats that you heard before the break, you heard me mention multivitamin or B complex. But most people get enough niacin from the food they eat. Foods rich in niacin include yeast, milk, meat, tortillas, and cereal grains, and there are others as well too. People use prescription niacin to help control cholesterol, which we'll dive into that. So this is one of those interesting supplements that actually has some good evidence and data behind it for cholesterol. And I'll get into the vasodilation part in a second. Research on the use of oral niacin to treat specific conditions shows high cholesterol effectiveness. So prescription niacin is used to increase the good cholesterol and helps remove the bad cholesterol from your bloodstream. And despite niacin's ability to raise HDL, research suggests that niacin therapy isn't linked to low rates of death or heart attack or stroke. And also, niacin deficiency has been linked to birth defects in other studies as well. It's generally safe as far as it goes. However, there are some things you've got to watch out for: rapid heartbeat, itchy, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, etc. Serious side effects are most likely if you take high doses between 2,000 and 6,000 milligrams of niacin a day. So you've got to watch out as far as it goes, especially when you're going to be supplementing on top of your regular regimen. All right, let me hop back to as far as niacin goes. And a little bit of, here's some more sources as well too. Your greens, your fish, and your eggs also have some niacin and B3 as well too. Even some ocean fish can be really high in niacin. Last night actually, we were having homemade fried rice. And rather than soy sauce, my wife used Bragg's amino acids. We like to use that as a supplement instead of soy, because we know it has higher concentrations of amino acids. One of them is B3, and my daughter got a temporary niacin flush, and it's totally normal. Lasted for just a few seconds. Her ears itched a little bit. And it's the niacin there that caused the increase in the dilation in the blood vessels throughout her body. And she turned a little bit red and itchy, and it was gone. So it was a little higher dose. A systemic vasodilator or opener, niacin is used to treat, like I said, hyperlipidemia. Ooh, nice one, little zap there, Reed. And it induces vasodilation with 500 milligrams taken in about 30 minutes. You'll notice a 39% increase in blood circulation volume. So is it good for circulation? Let's put the pieces of this puzzle together as well too. She had chronic constriction, our patient, of blood vessels. Her body was deficient. Her circulation was restricted, and sitting made it worse because it turned it chronic. So after history and exam, here was my recommendation. Take niacin and get off the high dose of Excedrin. She wasn't supposed to be taking anyway because of her gastric bypass, but she was desperate. Now, did I leave it at that? Walk away from it? Absolutely not. I said I want you to make 2 phone calls before you start taking this niacin. Number 1 to your pharmacist, and number 2 to your surgeon. She did exactly that, and I said I want you to come back in 2 weeks after you've talked to them and if you can start taking it. So she took it daily for 2 weeks, came back later. Her legs and everything else that were her symptoms, her pain, the sleepiness feeling, the clumpy feeling to her legs, are totally fine. All is legit. Now, am I a vitamin expert? No. Am I a supplement expert? Nada. But what I did was solve the problem. Meaning you can do the same thing. So rather than just throw different supplements at, or different parts, as the mechanic said, find out what the problem is. It will not jump out and tell you sometimes right away. Then go from there until you have resolution of your problem. Also, when you are working with a healthcare practitioner or professional, they should be able to properly guide you with some of the knowledge they have as far as understanding things like vasoconstriction, vasodilation, and they should have some level of problem-solving discernment as well too. So the point is that out of 29,000 various different types of supplements and 1,000 added per year, picking the 1, 2, or 3 that makes the difference can make all the difference. And rather than just throw, because you can do that, as you know, I'm sure many of you that have been taking supplements for years have switched them out many times throughout the years because you're just trying to find the one that works. Some of you have been taking the same thing for many years because you know it works. So you get the point when it comes to a condition-specific problem, knowing a little bit of the anatomy, a little bit of the problem, a little bit of the history, and how the supplement works in your body, which is what I'm going to kind of finish up with as well too. One of the things that comes up, and I'm not sure, and you may or may not be doing this, is how to properly absorb these supplements that you're taking, and of course even including this niacin if you end up taking this. And again, you're going to be working with your healthcare practitioner to make sure if you need to be taking this or not. But let's go over the absorption process of these vitamins and supplements you take so they are more effective for you. They occur, or the absorption occurs, in the small intestine before finally passing through the remaining components of your food into your large intestine for the final touches. So your small intestine absorbs the broken down components of your food in the form of simple sugars, amino acids, fatty acids, and also nutrients in your body. Most of your vitamins and minerals you consume are absorbed in the small intestine, but each one requires its own unique mechanism to cross the intestinal cell wall lining and actually get into your bloodstream and make a difference. So again, pull back for a second. If you're the type of person going, I'm not sure if this is working for me, true, maybe you're not trying to treat a specific condition that you have, but you got to make sure it's absorbing correctly. So pay close attention to this. Understanding the differences between the types of nutrients and the way you can personally improve your absorption process boils down to this. You have water-soluble vitamins that require water for transport. Getting plenty of fluids can improve your body's ability to absorb and transport these nutrients through different mechanisms. And conversely, you have fat-soluble vitamins that you may have guessed require fat to aid in their absorption. So one of the best ways to improve your transportation and diffusion and absorption of your various supplements and vitamins is to consume healthy fats with fat-soluble vitamin-rich foods and also the water. Moreover, both water-soluble vitamins and minerals require specialized transporters. So look at your supplements that you're taking. I don't care if it's 1, 2, or 10 or more. Look and see if they're water soluble, fat soluble. Maybe they're one or the other or both. And make sure that you are doing what you can and stacking the deck in your favor as far as when to take them and how to take them. So from Viome.com, historically, scientists have considered the role of the large intestine, now we're going to switch, to be fairly straightforward in digestion. As material enters it, the majority of the nutrients have already been digested and absorbed. What remains are typically reduced, harder to digest remnants, such as non-digestible fibers and whatnot. Now, what we know is the area is rich in other functions as far as the large intestine goes, and I'm going to draw into this point too. Gut bacteria, the little colonies of bacteria in there, also play a huge role in whether or not you are able to absorb your supplements or not. So you could be pounding supplements, water, fat soluble, and also, but if you've got lousy gut bacteria, it's not going to be able to absorb in the cell in the way you want it to, in the way that you need to. So keep a couple of those things in mind. The case that we went over, the data regarding the vitamin supplementation, and also making sure that your gut bacteria is good and ready to absorb these vitamins and supplements that you're taking. And don't forget as well, too, niacin was the vitamin/supplement that helped fix this lady's problem. That will wrap up this part of the show. Upcoming announcements and our tip and trick of this week just around the corner after the break. This is the Dr. Larry Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Dr. Larry will be back in a moment. Break's over. Time to get cracking once again with Dr. Larry.
Welcome back. Okay, a couple of things before we wrap up the show and get to the weekly tip and trick. Here's a list of possible upcoming shows and a few updates. Another interview coming up. How's your foot gear? Do you like your sneakers? Are they the right ones for your feet? Where do you go to find expert shoe people? Well, I've got the show for you. I'll be interviewing the manager of Queen City Running Shoe Store out of Marquette, Michigan. They know shoes and got lots of them from Hoka's, Brooks, and beyond. And I've got another interview coming up. Dr. Paul Brunding, he's a pain management physician with OSMS out of Green Bay. He does spinal injections, nerve blocks, and more. I'll be digging into what pain management can do for you and your pain. And we'll be talking about just overall, he's also an osteopath as well, too, which I always find is kind of a unique blend with practitioners. There's a difference between MDs and osteopaths. They all, of course, do a lot of the same things, but like I said, I'll be asking some questions about pain management. He's also board certified in physical medicine and rehabilitation, so I'll be curious about that, too, why he chose both those certifications as well. Also, I've got a case of mine that came in with a seemingly straightforward symptoms: neck pain and arm pain and shoulder pain. Patient had therapy and shots, still suffered for over a year. Nothing worked until I switched something around when she came into me as a new patient, and within 3 weeks or a month, I think it was, nearly 100% better. Pretty cool case. You'll want to hear that. That'll be coming up shortly as well, too. Also, don't forget to check out my website, drlarry radio.com, drlarryradio.com. As you heard at the start of the show, all of my shows, including the one you just heard today, are uploaded and ready for you. Now, in fairness to the radio station, I've got to offer a 7-day free trial, but also after that, it's just a month-to-month subscription plan, $7.99 per month. I have 53 of these shows loaded up. Commercials are extracted. You can pause, repeat, rewind, fast forward, whatever you want to do. Basically, they become a podcast for you that you can listen to on your device. Also, there is a special private email option as well, too, where you can email me questions as you want as far as that goes. That's all included with the plan for just under $8 a month. It's on Patreon is the program subscription that I use. And I also create searchable tabs. So, for example, if you were interested in saying niacin, what did Dr. Larry say about niacin or supplements, I've created tabs, so you just type in the tab and you can run a search, and the shows that I cover that will be pop up for you. You can just kind of listen to those as well, too. So it's a great way also to help sponsor and support the show. Check out drlarryradio.com. And Rito, we're going to be heading up here in just a few seconds to the broadcast booth because we've got to go over the tip and trick for the day. So, Reed, awesome tunes.
Awesome tunes.
Yes.
There we go.
And you got a new pair of shoes on today.
I do.
What are they?
They're, let's see, Chuck All-Stars.
Yeah, but not just any old Chucks.
They're my Chucks.
Yeah, vintage Chucks.
They're the vintage ones.
What color are they?
They're black. You got to go old-fashioned. Right?
Old-fashioned Chucks, yeah. You got them a few days ago. Are they comfortable for your feet?
They're very comfortable.
Yeah. This isn't a Chucks plug, by the way. This is just the fact that you got a new pair of shoes on. I mean, you know how it is. What new shoes? They make you run fast, jump high.
Make your feet feel good.
Yep. And of course, I'll be interviewing the shoe people coming up as well, too. So I'm just getting myself warmed up for shoes.
A little bit of a sneak peek, right?
Yeah. What do you know about me and shoes?
You like your shoes. You got lots of shoes.
What's my excuse?
What is your excuse? I forget.
Yeah. Well, I've got to be on my feet all day long, so I need a variety of shoes. So
gotta keep the stock of shoes in.
I even had to pay one of your siblings to organize the shoes under the bed because they wanted to. I paid him in a supplement protein drink because they wanted it so bad and they're quite pricey. So I was like, organize the shoes under the bed, and they took care of it.
Perfect.
Yep. But guess what? I'm not even wearing shoes today. Of all that, I'm wearing flip-flops.
Of course.
Unbelievable. Reed, you ready for the tip and trick?
I am. I've been waiting.
We're not going to run out of the music bed, are we?
We got enough time.
Okay, here we go. You call it out, and this is what it is.
All right, folks, tip and trick. Dr. Larry is looking at the back of his knees, and he is feeling around. What are you looking for?
Well, how often have you felt the back of your knees if you have knee pain? This does not show up on an x-ray, so you're not going to find it there. But it's called a Baker's cyst. And the Baker's cyst is basically a fluid-filled bump on the back of your knee. Now, why would I bring this up? Well, it's something that I feel on patients all the time. And they'll complain to me that they've got some kind of knee pain or problem. And so, okay, let's check out the knee, and I'll go through an exam. And for the tip and trick of the day, the Baker's cyst is sometimes what I find on people. Now, it's also known as a popliteal cyst. I had an instructor in school a long time ago. He said, folks, you got to feel the popliteal fossa. And I always liked the way he said it. I have no idea why, but the popliteal fossa, and that's in the back of the knee. They are one of the more common disorders of the knee, and these fluid-filled cysts form a large bump or lump on the back of the knee that causes stiffness and discomfort, there is your problem. The condition is named after the 19th century surgeon who first described it, Dr. William Morant. I'll give you one guess for his last name. Baker. So Baker cysts typically result from a problem inside the knee joint, such as osteoarthritis or meniscus tear, but not always. Sometimes it's just from repetition. And these conditions cause the joint to produce excess fluid, which can lead to a formation of the cyst. Now, most Baker's cysts will improve with non-surgical treatment that includes changes in activity, little anti-inflammatory medications, and some cysts may even go away on their own with no treatment at all. There is a running theme now in the orthopedic world that they just leave them. And they'll say that they'll come back if they remove them, and that is true of cysts. However, I do know and have patients who have had successful Baker cyst removal, meaning if you are having pain, you've had an MRI and it's just not going away, and the only problem is a Baker cyst in the back of your knee, work with your doc, because you may be a situation where you would want to have it removed. And those that I know, patients that have come into my office that have had those removed, it's been successful and it's worked and it's reduced the pain or problem. And in fact, on the flip side of it, kind of the running theme is the cysts come back. I don't know of many patients where it actually came back, and if it did, sometimes it's a bit smaller. Now, another reason why I bring up this tip and trick is to feel the back of the knees is because I just had a new patient come in, and he did not have a Baker cyst, but I dropped just below the knee and I found a different type of hardened cyst slash nodule on the back of his calf that he did not know was there. And 52-year-old gentleman, he says, "Get out of here. Come, let me feel that." And there we are feeling a different type of cyst on the back of his calf. He says, "Go get that ultrasound and make sure to see what it is." So it is wise and good and prudent that, as we were talking about a little earlier, that you do these little body system checks, and especially when it comes to your knees ache. I've got a bad achy left knee sometimes, just to kind of do a double check and feel what's back there. The Baker cyst is pretty obvious. It's not one of those things you have to difficult find. If you're carrying some extra weight, sometimes you'll have a little bit of fat accumulation back there as well too. That's not a Baker cyst. That's just fat accumulating in the back of the knee. So remember, ultimately, the cyst will feel like kind of like a hard, softy, medium, domey kind of feeling back there, and that's what it is. And you can push into it, and if it causes you a little bit of pain, you'll know it's a Baker cyst, and then you can take it to your doctor and talk to them about that. And again, like I said, some of them show no symptoms at all. MRI will definitely pick that up without contrast. If you feel that fullness or lump behind your knee, if you're having knee pain or stiffness, and I got to give credit to the AAOS.org, that's the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, that's what I'm quoting right now. You'll have some swelling in your lower knee and leg. If the cyst becomes so large, it can interfere with blood flow in the veins in the back of your leg, and that was not the case with the patient that I went over today on the show too. One of the things I was feeling for, one of the things I was checking for, did she just have a large Baker cyst in the back of her knee? No, and it not being. So that's why, in this case, the vitamin supplement niacin worked. Now, if she did have a Baker cyst and that was causing the problem, I would have been getting her to an orthopedic, and in this case, we would have had them remove it instead. So that's how you differentiate sort of these problems. But very rarely can a cyst burst, but they do sometimes. And if that cyst bursts, sometimes what will happen, it'll feel like hot, almost kind of acid sort of feel running down on the inside part of your leg, as a patient described to me. Their cyst burst, and it was fine. She was fine, no problems. You do have to watch out for more serious problems, though, like blood clots or deep vein thrombosis. And if you're experiencing any of that stuff, or swelling or heat or redness as far as that goes in the back of your knee, then you've got to make sure you get that checked out as well too. So that's called a Baker cyst. And the running joke, if you've been listening to me for a while on the radio, all of these terms and cyst names and things are typically named after the individual that discovered them. So all that had to memorize 25 years in school. I'm glad that's behind me, and now I can give it to you. Baker's cyst was named by Doc Baker, not from Little House on the Prairie, a different Doc Baker. Folks, remember, you can listen to me live right here every week to learn how to achieve a better back and better health. Or if you're having a pain or problem, I am here to help. My number is 906-875-3215. Have a good day, boy on the board, and I'll see you next week, everybody.